Crusaders.
The
His name. That's why we're here. To bring Him glory. Because it's all about Him. What an awesome God that we have. What an awesome Father that I serve. He's worthy of praise. Can we just do that? Can we give Him some praise tonight? Oh, it's so good to be back over here and to see all of you folks. And Brother Josh, thank you for allowing us to come, and the church, and just to be here to worship tonight. It's good to be in God's house and on a Saturday night. And I've kind of got attached to going to church. I think I could go 7 days a week. Boy, that kind of got weak on that amen right there, I'm going to tell you. But it is so good to be with you and just to share about the Lord and what God's doing. And I want to introduce everybody to you. And that guy over there in the other white coat, me and him, we try to team up, you know. And so, but he's almost 7 years now. This December be
scared me. I thought you was finna say he's almost 70 years old. My hearing's getting better all the time.
I know, it's really gaining ground. But I want to tell you, God is using Steve in a mighty way. And from Haynesville, Louisiana, singing the tenor and playing bass, Mr. Steve Reeves. Make him welcome. Stephen, come on up this way. It was about a year ago. We were here doing a Saturday night service, and this young man came, and we began to talk. And I want to tell you, God has a plan for your life. He has a plan. You know, at that point in time when I first met Stephen and we talked on the phone, I didn't think we needed a sound guy. I thought we was doing all right. But God had another plan. See, God sees further down the road, and as John reminded us during our practice in here earlier today, as we were doing the tent revival over by Main Street, there was a black evangelist that preached, and he preached just seeing over further than what our eyes will see. And well, God knew what was coming down the road, and that we needed a young man that had the technology ability and didn't take up a lot of room. I'm not going to tell you that he didn't eat a lot, but he loves the Lord, and I want to tell you he's been such a blessing to be a part of our ministry for a year now. And he has gained some weight. We're proud of him there. He's gained some weight. But he loves the Lord. And would you make Mr. Stephen Hayes welcome tonight? Well, this guy over here, he's made it to 18. Yeah.
That may be it.
And he's gained some weight too.
I know he did.
He's going to look like his dad before long. And but I'm proud to have my son to stand beside me. And would you make my son, Mr. Jonathan Talley, welcome?
And I'm just going to behave, and I'm going to say, that's Mr. David Talley over there playing the keyboard.
There's a young man that, again, I believe that God has a plan. And one of the best places that you can be is right in the middle where God's doing something. Amen? If you want to understand the will of God, just start seeking Him and listening to what He's telling you. And last Sunday, as we were over doing the homecoming at Rocky Mound, this young man got up and sang. And I'm like, where did that come from? And ever since Barry, that sang bass with us, retired, I told the Lord, I said, if you want us to have a bass singer, you send us one. And we've had, I'm going to tell you, we've sung with a lot of different ones all over the place, and have, you know, some of them would have been glad to have gotten on the bus and gone with us. But it's about what God wants. It's not about what David or John or Steve or Stephen wants. It's about what God wants. And so I began to talk to this young man during the service, and I asked him, I said, have you ever prayed about what God's doing in your life and what direction of using the gifts that He's gave you? So we talked a little bit, and so we got together today. And so this young man is from Fouke, Arkansas, of all things, Fouke, Arkansas. Would you make Mr. Dylan Bean welcome? Dylan Beal. I got that right. All right, now he's for a bass singer. I'm telling you, he's got to put on some weight to be in Southern gospel music. I'm telling you. Yeah. I am looking for the day when I see Jesus, and His blessed face I shall behold. With the saints of old, the half will then be told, when my feet touch the streets of gold. When my feet touch the streets of glory, when I travel my last weary mile, will He hold my trembling hand when before the Lord I stand? Will He say, my child, well done, crown of life and now have won, when my feet touch the streets of gold? If by chance some happy morning you should miss me, don't you weep for me because I'm gone. I'll be at the feet of the one who died for me when my feet touch the streets of gold. When my feet touch the streets of glory, when I travel my last weary mile, will He hold my trembling hand? Will before the Lord I stand? Will He say, my child, well done? Crown of life you now have won. When my feet touch the streets of gold, when my feet touch the streets of glory, when I travel my last weary mile, will He hold my trembling hand? When before the Lord I stand? Will He say, my child, well done? Crown of life you now have won. When my feet touch the streets of gold, when my feet touch the streets of gold, will He hold my trembling hand? When before the Lord I stand? Will He say, my child, well done? Crown of life you now have won. When my feet touch the streets of gold, when my feet touch the streets of gold. I don't know how he does that. I looked at him earlier and I don't know. Oh, but it's just good to know that young men are seeking after the Lord. You see, that's the older that I get, the more thrill I get, Brother Tommy, about seeing young folks that are willing to serve the Lord. We need to pray. A few weeks ago, we were doing a revival over in El Dorado, and the church had gone through a split. And I got up to preach that night, and man, I'm tell you, I struggled because God was beating on me, telling me to be obedient. The church was fussing about the young people because they said they cost a lot to have a youth group. There were 17 that was there every service. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night. Faithful to come. And as we got into that service, and I was preaching on Paul and Silas. The obedience, that them being obedient, what happened about the Philippian jailer and his family getting saved. And as I began to preach, and God began to direct me in a hard path. Steve came back up, and John and we sang, "My house is full, but there's no workers." Well, one of the youth got up and prayed, began to go to the altar and pray. God impressed on me to ask one of the men of the church to come in to pray over this young man. As I stood beside the pulpit, and I said, I'm going to be obedient to what God says to do, even though it's hard sometimes when, you know, Brother Josh, when he tells you to do something and you say, you talking to me? And as I began to stand there and I said, this is what God said to do. I said, I want one man to come and to pray over this young man, that he'd seek the Lord and follow him and what he's dealing with him to do. I stood there a minute and no one moved. And I said, is there one man that will come and pray over this young man? No one came. In a few moments, the rest of the youth began to pile out and they began to pray. Now I'm talking to us men for just a minute. Men, we got to get real. We got to get real. the Sunday school teacher, she got out of her pew and she came down here and poured her heart out. Not one man came and prayed over that youth group. People, we got to get bold for Jesus. We got to get on fire. We got to get serious. See, Satan wants the kids. You say, well, yeah. Well, Satan wants us all. But if he can get the youth, then he's got a generation that's coming up where the church will be weaker. I want to tell you, I'm proud to see a young man over there that is willing to step out, to get out of his comfort zone. To get out of his comfort zone, to stand up here with three guys that I've known him, but we've never really sat down and become good acquaintance till today and last weekend. Talked on the phone this week. But I'm thankful that he's being obedient and seeing if this is what God wants him to do. And that's our prayer, is to be obedient. Can we give Mr. Dillon another hand tonight?
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious is that grace of thee. The hour I first believed, when we been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We know less days to see God's grace than when we first began. We know less days to see God's grace than when we first began. In my robe of white, I will fly away to that land so fair. Meet my Jesus there, it will be so great. When I get to that land in my robe of white, I will fly away. Well, first I'll hear the trumpet sound, and all the saints will be heaven bound. We'll be crossed over Jordan wide, stop and view the other side. Then I'll see those holy hills and the mansions He has built. I'll be the first one in the line to see my name in the book of life. It's in my robe of white, I will fly away to that land so fair. Meet my Jesus there, it will be so great. When I get to that land in my robe of white, I will fly away. Well, it's gonna be a wonderful time when I get to the other side. See my loved ones gone before, we'll depart from them no more. We'll be walking on streets of gold, surrounded by riches untold. When I look upon Jesus' face and be saved by His amazing grace, yes, in my robe of white, I will fly away to that land so fair. Meet my Jesus there, it will be so great. When I get to that land in my robe of white, I will fly away. In my robe of white, I will fly away to that land so fair. Meet my Jesus there, it will be so great. When I get to that land in my robe of white, I will fly away. Yes, in my robe of white, I will fly away.
Amen. As we were talking about it before the service, we were on the way back from Louisville, Kentucky, and we had stopped to get fuel. That's what you do when you have a bus. You stop and get fuel. And so we had pulled in at Earl, Arkansas, and on the way back, and it's neat to see the places God will put you. Well, as we drove in, there was the big TA truck stop on the right side of the road, and on this side there was another station, a Valero or something or another, and the fuel was the same price. And I said, well, I'll just take the smaller one. Well, there was another bus there, and of course, if there's another bus there, I want to see whose bus it is and talk with them and all this kind of stuff. So we circled around, and as we got around, I saw that the guy was working on the bus. Well, we pulled up to get fuel, and so when we got out, and the guys, he had hit one of the poles as he pulled into the fuel pump and tore the fender flare off the bus. And so he was out there. He had 3 wrenches trying to take that thing apart, and he was pretty frustrated. He had just bought the bus the day before, and he was headed to Muskogee, Oklahoma from Lexington, Kentucky. And so we went and got the tool bag, and we began to talk to him. And as we got there, the first thing that when I began to talk with him, it was a little off-colored talk coming out of his mouth. Well, we began to help him, and he found out what we did. Immediately, the talk changed. Immediately. And he began to tell us what God had done in his life. And I said that to say this: a lot of times people watch you. They watch us, and they watch to see if you're a card-toting Christian or not. They'll watch you in Walmart. They'll watch you at the fuel pump. They'll watch you at the gas station, at the grocery store, at the hardware store, or wherever. People are watching. Well, Steve stayed over there and pulled that flare apart for him. This gentleman had got really frustrated, and we began to talk with him and helped him get it off. And then he said, well, let me buy y'all's lunch. And I said, no. I said, we're a full-time ministry, and if you want to give a donation, we'll put it in the pot. And the man, he pulled out a $50 bill and said, here, I want to give this to y'all. Well, so we gave him a CD and we sang for him a little bit. You know, there's nothing like singing around a noisy diesel engine, and you know, and you're beginning to sing, and folks are going by and they're looking, and then they really look when you hug up and start praying. You know, what are these guys doing? I want to tell you, we got to take a stand. We got to take a stand. Take a stand for the gospel. And, you know, that gentleman was not expecting an encounter that day. He was totally not prepared that the three guys that got out of that bus, the other bus, and come over there and begin to help him. And he began to, as he left, he was trying to make it on to his brother's house without tearing another pole down. And as he backed up to get fuel, I thought he was going to take the pump out. I was ready to leave because I was just shaking. But I want to tell you, let's be prepared. Let's be prepared whenever the opportunity arises. One of the things that I've always, Steve has taught me, and is that he doesn't meet a stranger. He'll get out, and the next thing you know, he's talking to somebody about Jesus over and over. He's telling them about Jesus. He's talking to them about it. And as we begin to step out, and I want to tell you, the joy that we've had the opportunity of seeing 465 saved this year. That's a joy. And it comes by getting out of your comfort zone. See, I think a lot of y'all have missed an opportunity to share the gospel. But someone else might have come along and watered that or harvested that seed. See, when we forget about what others are going to think, but think about what Jesus is going to think, it sure changes what we want to do. And that's our heart. That's our heart and our soul, is to be able to present the gospel whenever and however. And one of the things that we begin to see is, as I shared with you, Stephen coming and being a part of the ministry, I didn't know that we would be streaming as many services and recording as many on video as what we do now. See, there's someone that needs to hear the gospel. They might not could have been here tonight, but through the internet, a lot of folks can watch. We've been in some little small communities here and there, and those cameras have gone up, and Stephen's doing his magic back there on getting that stuff online, and you hear after the service, 16 were watching. That's 16 that wasn't sitting here that got to hear the gospel. See, that's what it's about. Back in June, we were in Lexington, Kentucky. And you might find this a little strange right here, but we wanted to go to the National Memorial Cemetery there in Kentucky, and so we called this cemetery it's huge, and it's been there since the 1700s. And so we contacted him and asked him, could we come in and do an a cappella song and record it in front of the soldiers' tombs. And he agreed, and so we're there inside the cemetery in the bus, and we're dressed up in our suits, walking around out there in the graveyard and singing. Well, then we went over to some older tombs, and some of these were like 1871. And I remember the inscription on this real tall, and it said, he was a servant to all, but mostly to God. And as we recorded that, these two guys come walking by. We were out there singing, and Steve and I went over to them. Like I said, Steve, he sees them, and he's gone to them. And he begins to talk to them. But you never know when you're going to have a chance of an encounter. An encounter meeting to present the gospel. And that's why His grace just amazes me so very much. Listen to this song.
My faithful Father, enduring friend, your tender mercies like the river with no wind in overwhelms me. Oh, covers my sin each time I come into your presence. I stand in wonder once again. Your grace still amazes me. Your love, oh, and your love is still a mystery. And each day, Lord, I fall on my knees, 'cause your grace still amazes me. Oh, patient Savior, you make me whole. You are the author and the healer of my soul. What can I give you? Oh, Lord, what can I say each time I come into your presence? I stand in wonder once again. Your grace still amazes me. Your love, oh, and your love is still a mystery. And each day, Lord, I fall on my knees, 'cause your grace still amazes me. Oh, it's deeper, it's wider, it's stronger, it's higher. Oh, wider, it's stronger, it's higher than anything my eyes can see. Your grace, oh, still amazes me. Your love, oh, and your love is still love me exploring. And each day, Lord, I fall on my knees, 'cause your grace still amazes me. Oh, because your grace still amazes me. So many times our friends will tell us, I won't let you down. And when the storms are threatening danger, they cannot be found. But there's a friend whose name is Jesus, and his promise is real. There is no doubt he'll bring me out when he says I will. I will fight all your battles, give them all to me. I can make all your trials end in victory. I have all power and glory, here's mine to give. Oh, what a blessing, I am resting, for he says I will. The enemy can make me tremble, make me so afraid. I'll wrestle Satan through the night to the breaking of the day. With just the strength to look toward heaven, glory is revealed. He stands there waiting, gently saying, child, you know I will fight all your battles, give them all to me. I can make all your trials end in victory. I have all power and glory, here's mine to give. Oh, what a blessing, I am resting, for he says I will fight all your battles, give them all to me. I can make all your trials end in victory. I have all power and glory, here's mine to give. Oh, what a blessing, I am resting, for he says I will. Oh, what a blessing, I am resting, for he says I will.
Amen. Let me give them just a little break for just a second, and Stephen, if you could come up here and see if you can get our monitors up. We don't have anything up here, and it would be a blessing. And I was thinking, one of the things that Satan doesn't like is for the men. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you have received a blessing from the services. And I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. If during the service, did the Holy Spirit begin to knock on your heart's door just saying that you felt like something just wasn't right in your relationship with the Lord and you'd like to get that right, I want you to stop and think, where will you spend eternity? There's only two choices, heaven or hell. You can make heaven your home right now, right where you're at this very moment. You can pray and ask the Lord to come into your life. The Bible says that all have sinned and fell short of the glory of God. God made a way by Jesus Christ giving Himself on the cross for you. And it's simply asking Him into your heart to forgive you of your sin and to save you. That's what He can do. So I'd be honored to lead you in a prayer. I can't save you, but I'd be honored to lead you in a prayer of faith. You pray, believing and asking the Lord to come into your life to save you and forgive you of your sins. And recognizing that He is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, that He died and rose again. My Bible says that you will be saved. Why don't you pray with me? Dear Heavenly Father, know that I'm a sinner. Lord Jesus, I believe You died and You rose again, and that You're in heaven right now. Lord Jesus, would You come into my heart and forgive me of my sin? Lord Jesus, save me. I don't want to die and go to hell. Lord, thank You for saving my soul. And I want to live the rest of my life to serve You. If you prayed that prayer, we'd like to forgive you. You accepted the Lord as your Savior. And you can simply shoot us an email at thecrusadersministries.com. Go to our website, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Facebook, The Crusaders Ministries, or we'd be glad to hear from you. Call me, 870-904-3118. We'd like to rejoice with you and celebrate. Maybe get you hooked up with a church in your area that can teach you and grow you. But if you prayed this prayer of faith and asking the Lord to save you, I want to tell you, you just made the greatest decision in your life by asking the Lord to save you. Once again, thank you so very much for watching the video. And I want to tell you, the Crusaders is a non-profit organization. We travel full-time in the ministry all across the United States, presenting the gospel in prisons, in homeless shelters, in churches, and other concert venues. We would desire your support. We desire your prayers, first of all. But it takes money to go across this nation. Fuel being $4 a gallon plus. And the offerings go to get us to the next place. To preach the gospel, present the gospel through song. So I ask you, prayerfully consider supporting the ministry of the Crusaders. And you can contact us again at thecrusadersministries.com. And there's all sorts of information about supporting us. We pray that you'll pray about this. Or if you have further questions, feel free to call me. We'd be glad to speak with you concerning any issues you may have in your life. Or if you have questions about the ministry and what we're doing. Once again, that number that can be reached at is 870-904-3118. And once again, we thank you so very much for your support already, what you're going to do, and us going out and presenting the gospel and seeing more than we've seen, except Jesus as our Lord and Savior. We're praying for thousands this year. We pray you'll pray with us, you'll support us as we go across presenting the gospel. Once again, thank you. God bless you.